Good morning. So today I'm going to hike down to the Arizona Hot Springs. I'm leaving nice and early. It's the first time I've ever done this hike in the morning, and it's great because right now the parking lot is empty. Usually if you're leaving later in the morning, it's a pretty full parking lot, and then the hot springs get really busy. So I'm hoping just to be able to get down there and enjoy some time. But because we're in the desert, I see so many people not carrying water. I will almost always carry a 3-liter water, no matter how early it is, how cool it is in the morning. I also don't like hiking in wet shoes, and because most of this trail is going to be on sand, I'm going to bring water shoes with me and change out into these before I get into the hot springs. I also bring my Garmin inReach just because there's not a lot of cell service, and this is just a little bit of peace of mind that if something does happen, I can click SOS and get a rescue. So come with me and let's go down to the hot springs. This is the same trailhead that you would take to see the Liberty Bell Arch. Arizona Hot Springs can be done as a 4-mile out and back or as a 6-mile loop. The trailhead closes in the summer, normally from May 15th through September 30th, due to excessive heat. And in fact, you can get fined if you're caught on the trail. Park rangers block off access to the trailhead to prevent people from hiking it. The trail starts by following a wash under the highway overpass. When hiking, it's always important to follow leave no trace principles, which includes packing your trash out. There are so many people using this trail that we all need to do our part to keep it clean. You come to the split where if you go to the left, you take the most direct route down to the Arizona Hot Spring, or if you continue to the right, you eventually come to the turnoff for Liberty Bell Arch, or this is how you do the counterclockwise loop. This is always my favorite way to hike to the hot springs. I love walking through the White Rock Canyons and being able to walk around the edge of the Colorado River. Eventually you come down into slot canyons, and it's always important to notice what the weather's going to be like because flash floods are a real thing here and you don't want to be caught in one. This was the first time I've hiked down here in the morning, and it was really cool to see the sun coming up and glowing on the canyon walls. You continue making your way down the canyon. It's pretty easy to follow the trail down to the river. There's not much area to veer off. As long as you're walking down the wash, you're going to be on the right trail. This is the first time I noticed that cave up off to the right hand side. As you get closer down to the river, you'll know you're almost there when you start seeing springs seeping out of the canyon walls. And from here, the canyon gradually widens and you walk right down until you're at the edge of the river. Turn to the left to continue following the path, and here it gets a little bit more difficult to follow, at least I thought it did, and it's going to wind behind campsites. You also start seeing more trail markers at this point. One of the ways to access the hot springs is to drop in the water up at Willow Beach, which is actually about another, maybe 18 miles south of here, and you can kayak or canoe and even camp out. There's several campsites, all on a first come, first served basis. For the next half mile or so, you follow the edge of the Colorado River. There's a little more rock scrambling in here. You want to make sure to keep your footing, especially when walking along the ledges. And also, like I said earlier, the trail does get a little bit harder to follow. I backtracked right in here and then realized I was supposed to come through this cove, and you can see the faint outline of the trail running behind here. This would also actually potentially make another great campsite. The trail continues up this rocky path. Again, it's a little bit difficult to see. In this rockier area, keep an eye out for the yellow spray painted arrows. These are the indicators that you are headed in the correct direction. I actually overshot the trail right in here. This is looking back where I just came from, and you're hiking up the side of this mountain right here, and you'll notice the spray painted arrow, and then you scramble up this chimney where the path becomes a lot more visible again. From here, the trail begins to turn inland, and you're only about a half mile from the springs. I changed into my water shoes at this point because from here, you're walking in water until you get into the hot springs. Naegleria fowleri is found in the Arizona hot springs. This is often known as a brain-eating amoeba and is often deadly, so you don't want to put your head under the water or get any water up your nose. You'll know you've made it to the Arizona hot springs when you see the ladder. At the top of the ladder, you'll step into the first of 4 hot spring pools. The first hot springs are the coolest, and the further you go back, the hotter they get. I actually found the 4th pool to be too hot for my liking. The hot springs can get really packed and crowded, especially on weekend days, and even as I was leaving today, I saw several groups coming down. But because I came super early in the morning on a weekday morning, I actually had one of the pools to myself to soak in for a few minutes. Leaving the hot springs, you climb up a small rock wall to get onto the main trail to head back on the loop. It's about another 2 miles to the trailhead from here, and it is a bit of a sandy slog up and out of the hot springs. This is one of the reasons I bring water shoes, is I really don't want to be hiking in wet socks and boots through all of the sand. Pretty quickly you come to a dry waterfall. I'm only 5'2", so I find these types of climbs a little bit challenging sometimes, so you need to make sure that if you're on your own, you have the strength to get yourself up and over. From here, you have about a mile, and the trail starts to ascend through the mountains. In the past, I've always turned left and taken this use road back down through the wash. This time, I took a faint trail to the right. I was pleasantly surprised following this other hiker that it was mostly packed dirt, and I was able to stay to the right of the wash as I went back under the freeway overpass. And up to the parking lot and back to my car. Thank you for watching my video of the Arizona Hot Springs Trail, and if you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing to Wandering with Carrie.